Hi, I am Olivia Wayne and welcome to Live in the Moment. This is a series dedicated to living life to the fullest. That is not always easy, especially after the year 2020 threw up. But there is always something we can do or something we can try to shift our mindset, outlook, and approach to help us remember that life is good and living it to the fullest is something in our control. I've invited a number of brilliant, motivated, inspiring people to try to ascertain and learn what they do to keep themselves happy, positive, and living in the moment. Today, I'm thrilled to have the hilarious, frenetic, super intelligent, and one of the hardest men on the planet to get hold of, Russell Kane. Russell is a multi-award-winning comedian, presenter, actor, author, and scriptwriter. He's hosted some brilliant podcasts, Evil Genius on BBC Sounds, and one I've participated in a couple of times, Boys Don't Cry. He is a 4-time nominee of the prestigious Edinburgh Comedy Award and won Best Show in 2010. He regularly features on all the funniest panel shows and is a mainstay on British TV. His Instagram shorts, caning, have me and my mum chuckling. His energy, expression, and humility make Russell one of the best in the business. And boy, am I really buzzing to chat to you today. How awkward or wonderful are hearing people talk about you, Russell.
That's definitely the nicest intro I've had during lockdown. So well done. You get the lockdown intro award. It was all perfect apart from one word.
Oh, go on.
Which is thrown around way too much.
Frenetic.
No, not frenetic, definitely frenetic. Intelligent. It's something that we can measure quite easily in lots of different ways. And of course, me as a self-obsessed egomaniac, I've measured mine tons of times. My IQ is average across the board. I am of average intelligence. I've checked every metric you can check. In maths and logic, I am below average for the UK average. I'm less intelligent than an 18-year-old doing their A-levels. Why that is our first optimistic, inspirational jumping off point is this. Everything I've achieved, everything I've bagged since my business supposedly closed down in March, every innovation I've made comes down to drive, energy, and hunger. What that means is it doesn't matter shit what you've been born with. You've not been born thick. You've not been born unintelligent. You've been born with a certain situation. And if you're angry enough and with enough drive, you can go at it. So all of it was bang on, and I'm blushing to hear it, but love it. But intelligence, sadly, no. Anyway, drive beats intelligence every time. I know plenty of clever people living in skips, as it were.
So here's a question for you then. Drive, well, it's not really one of the things you can do, but I guess it's a underlying kind of thought process for you. If you hit a roadblock or a tricky situation, March 2020, let's say, rather than regress into yourself, get down, why me? Why is this happening? What do you do in that situation? Or do you let yourself wallow for a moment? And then what do you do?
Well, it certainly would. It obviously depends for every single person. Everyone's different. Some people have sorry, let's turn my email off. Sorry about that. See, that's how popular I am, guys, and being booked while I'm talking. Certain people have a set of situations that they can't solve. So if you've got 3 kids and you've got to work, there's no amount of inspirational bollocks is going to open up space in your diary. That is tough as fuck. So I'm not being against that. But if you find yourself with space and sinking into the chair and going, what am I going to do? You try and get yourself to a position where you're finding something you want. And if it's not what you want, you've got to trick your brain so you do want it, whatever that motivation. Oh, for fuck's sake, I'm so sorry.
Don't worry. But the beauty of this is, Russell, because I don't know if you know much about me. I don't know if you do, but I'm a live TV presenter. And the shtick of Live in the Moment is we don't edit. So this is the viewers and listeners are going to love this. And I love this because this is real life. This is your life. And this is your energy. Things come in.
Absolutely. So, yeah, what I'm saying is you have to find a way to trick your brain into wanting something so hard. People are like, well, how can I do that? And these are the same people where all my goals, I want the way a skaghead wants a wrap of heroin. I want it the way a mental man who's in love wants this woman. I want it the way someone who's starving wants a set meal for 2 from the Chinese takeaway. That level of hunger that now I've said it, you've experienced for something. Find the thing that makes you feel that way. And if you can't, do a mental trick on yourself. So put like a proxy goal in place. Like, well, I work in Lidl, so thanks, Russ. How am I supposed to motivate myself? Then stick a post-it of the Tenerife hotel you will go to next year, or that you will save up. If you want to be promoted so that you're assistant manager at that store, stick that on the wall and make it like you will, metaphorically speaking, kill to get there. I also use it's a bit inappropriate, but if you want to know what I do, I use it all the time. I call it the Syrian dad image, Syrian mum, if you're a mum. Just when you feel yourself bitching about your early morning, how tired it is, I close my eyes and see the Syrian dad crawling through the rubble, looking for possessions and a drink for his screaming baby. And it grounds the shit out of me. I know that might seem inappropriate, but I Syrian dad it 3 or 4 times a day. Like this morning, I was tired before I went live on Channel 4 because I hadn't had enough sleep and didn't get my coffee. I close my eyes. I see this spirit brother of mine across the world, and I'm like, stop whinging and fucking have it large. And I had a great show today.
Okay, so this is amazing. This is like but you have a real strong and powerful voice in your head that keeps you on track. But surely even you have had those moments when you've really hit a low spot in life, and maybe that's something huge got cancelled or whatever it is.
All the time, loads. But no,
physical thing you do, like, is there an actual physical thing you have to like get out of the room? Like, how do you do it?
So my industry, I'm not getting my violin out. I lead a blessed existence, and I've done very well.
I'll do it this one.
Yeah, I'm very well. Obviously, I'm well off with what I do for a living, so all my fundamentals are covered. However, I cannot tell someone how many times a week, and you'll be in the same position as me, Liv, you get punched, rejected, dropped, replaced with someone else. I mean, sometimes you don't even get feedback. You're just sacked without feedback.
That actually happened to you too, still?
All the time.
I mean, I'm not saying, of course, like...
If I audition for a movie like I did last week I went for a movie casting. And it's the first time in 5 years I've had feedback. Negative, didn't get the job. But it's the first, most of you don't even get told why they hate you. It's worse than rejection. So I know what I'm talking about here. Yeah. And if you think, well, I'm not a creative person, I'm an accountant called Malcolm, read books on creativity, because creativity isn't being able to like draw some flowers in a vase or write a joke or being able to write a novel. Creativity is about thinking sideways and adapting and using things from another world to overcome a block. For example, in my industry, there's, when you first start, if you're lucky like me and you win all the competitions, there's this buzz phase where you're Russell Kane or Ramesh or Rob Beckett or Catherine Ryan. It's like a rocket that goes up. And if you're really, really lucky, it will just continue to go up until you are Catherine Ryan, Rob Beckett, Ramesh Reganathan. For most of us, me included, there is a rocket followed by not a dip, hopefully, because that's harder to tackle, but sort of a flat bit where everything's staying the same, but the growth has stopped. The easiest thing in the world to do is go, well, I had my moment. I could have been a player. I could have been a contender. You start to think, well, I need to start doing things differently. And that's the key, is how can you shake things up? And so what I did was I looked at things that were growing around me. So if you're doing something and you're in an industry and you're flatlining, have a look at a related industry. So if you're a baker, have a look at what they're doing in the clothes shop across the road that's growing. Don't look at a baker's that's growing. Look at a clothes shop that's growing. I call it river jumping.
Who do you look at?
You are?
Or singers? What industry do you look to?
I looked at YouTube.
Right.
So we're going back 5 years now. I looked at YouTube, and there's these kids, and there's lots of bitterness in my mind. He's never fucking done a gig in his life, and he's playing the O2, fucking moan, middle-aged man. I'm like, I'm not a middle-aged man. Dye the hair, drop the body fat, stay young, focus, exercise. I always think with aging, as long as you continue to be able to see the beach, you can never drift into the sea of middle age. Just keep your eye on the beach. You know what I mean? So I looked at YouTube. And I went and spoke to this. I was doing a filming project, and I spoke to this YouTuber, and I went, "Tell me what my business could do that's like yours." I just asked. That's the other thing. Don't be scared to ask. And he said, "This is what I don't understand about you, granddads," sort of thing. Meaning not age, meaning our industry, our analog on stage, wooden board industry. Why don't you give away your stuff for free on YouTube, the Spotify model? That's the way the rest of the world's gone. So I was like, well, it doesn't really work like that. Stand-ups lovingly craft their material. They have to keep it secret so that when you get a massive paying job like the Apollo, no, or a Netflix special.
No,
No one's seen your stuff with it. And he went, no, you said you misunderstand me. All the stuff that's not quite good enough, or jokes that are so topical, say like a joke about Brexit that will be too old.
Yeah.
Put those online for free. No, if you can believe this, no one had done this at this point. So that weekend, I got back from filming on this job. I stuck my sat-nav holder on the window, stuck my phone in it, which is still how I film these caning rants. Picked 3 stories from the news. Something about Kanye West having a finger up his bum was the top story that week, believe it or not. And I improvised. Did okay. But by okay, I mean 30,000 people watched it. I was like, well, I've certainly never filled a theatre with 30,000 people. That felt weird. And it was just a matter of time till I got a viral story, which was when Kim Kardashian put a nude of herself, but with a black bar across her tits and across her bits. So I then did a rant about that, and it did 250,000. Well, I'm thinking, I only need 0.25% of people to think he's funny, I'll buy a ticket. I need 0.25% of people to think that. And so I started to realize that I can get stand-up out there. I don't have to be on Mock the Week that week. I don't have to be on Have I Got News For You when a story drops. And I stood to do it as well. That's what you wouldn't think to do. Like a blog, you sat back.
How you perform.
Exactly. High energy, down the camera. Could have looked desperate. Could have looked like, oh, I'm not on telly this week. Please give me attention.
Like, is it fun for you? Does it get the juices flowing? Or are you like,
it was scary at first because there was a very real risk that the stand-ups in my business have gone, what's he doing? That's desperate. What, are you not on TV enough? Why are you giving away your stuff for free with an amateur camera? It just looks a bit shoddy and desperate. There was that risk. And I would have stopped doing it had that effect started to become apparent. But because I gambled, I carried on. Now, there's still I put one out the other day. It's a flop one. So my flop ones now pay to 50,000, and then I'll do one about Boris's speech, and that'll play to 2 million. So what my point is, this is a very long-winded answer to say, river jump. Look at like a cousin industry. What can you steal? What were they doing on you? What were 17-year-olds doing on YouTube that stand-ups weren't doing? What's the clothes shop doing across the road that the food shop isn't doing? What's the so for example, for a book, that's probably how the first ever bookshop to get a cafe got a cafe. What makes people hang around books? Something to socialize. The bookshop around my way started staying open 18 and over, beers only, book night. You wouldn't put those two things together. It's rammed all the time. Well, not anymore, obviously, but it will be. Yeah. So it's just creativity isn't, oh, I'm good at drawing or I can think up a joke. Creativity is problem solving and survival, and human beings have done it since they first lit a fire. And in fact, we're the ones of us that are alive and have survived is because our ancestors were creative and did survive.
This is such fantastic advice. Basically, I've created this whole concept just to inspire me, obviously, but it makes so much sense. It's like obvious, and I guess people look at your canings and think, oh, but obviously it's so easy what he's doing. But actually, no, you took a real punt and a real risk, but it's paid hopefully dividends because people see you in such a different light, and you're reaching a much bigger audience than you might have.
Yeah, and even if I'm not reading, even if it's not a bigger audience, it's a more engaged audience, and I think that's crucial because the risk with stand-ups is, like, say, Jonathan Ross, which I'm doing next week, which is great. I'm so excited to be doing Jonathan Ross, which is very positive. But when people see you being funny on Graham Norton or Jonathan Ross, they know you're funny in chat. They don't really know what your stand-up's going to be like. Not really, really, really. There's still a step. Whereas when you're doing something full on, fully engaged, stood up, they can either think, well, he seems a bit manic, not for me, or they can think that's funny, I want to go and see him live. So there's less of a translation of the screen media to what the theatrical experience might be like.
Out of interest, when you go on a Jonathan Ross, do you prep jokes and things, or do you free flow?
I've only ever done Graham Norton up till now, which I've done 2 or 3 times, and he will have a number of things to prompt you with. But personally, I'm an improviser.
Right.
I mean, I'll take these. It's another good life tip, actually. Going into any situation, going into any business meeting, going into any scenario, have a bedrock, but plan to not use it. What goes wrong with people, whether it's public speaking, whether it's going into a business event, is you'll sit there all weekend with your microscopic notes, and then you'll be trying to get to point 4 during the meeting. Whereas you should be, there's my notes, won't need those. But of course, if you do dry up, there they are. And that bedrock, that structure, paradoxically frees you to have no structure and be really free and loose. That's what rehearsal is all about. Rehearsal.
ideas, I guess, and come up with new things on the moment that you would never have
right.
thought. Yeah.
As you know, with live TV, the more you rehearse an element, weirdly, the looser it becomes on the night. Sometimes the best ones. Some things have to be tightly formatted.
That's so interesting. I mean, I've never done that type of live, but yes, mine is like, you mustn't read outside the auto cue line. But yeah, I see what you're saying. Okay.
No, but if you were going to if this was a live TV interview and we'd had a run through of this earlier, and we'd gone, I'll do this, I'll go here and go here. Well, I bet you we wouldn't have used any of the questions we'd rehearsed, but we would have sat down super fucking confident, energies in place, ready to go. That's what I mean.
Yeah. Love that. Oh, pumped. Oh, that's why we didn't actually speak and rehearse.
Exactly. I was looking after you, babe.
Thank you. That's so thoughtful. Okay, now you've mentioned the word exercise in the with middle age. You were like, right, I'm not growing old like my industry. I'm going to say relevant, current, young, fit, healthy. Were you always into exercise? Like, has that always been in your life?
Ever.
I'm going to say, seeing earlier videos of you, you look quite different now. Why? So is that for your head, or is that for your health and body, like the physical element? Why and what?
It's a number of reasons. It's a very high energy act, so I have to stay fit. And what I noticed was, it wasn't really age. I wasn't like heavy or anything. I was only about 12 and a half stone.
Yeah.
But I was getting at the end of a joke. So it's very Lee Evans like. Anyone who's come to see me live would have seen it.
You don't sweat like that.
I need to not be able to get out of breath at all, nor break a sweat. Come to mention, just to contradict the Lee Evans point.
Yeah.
So I sort of economically blackmailed by my business model to stay fit. Is that because there's nothing I find more boring, tedious, and pointless than exercise. Believe me.
Okay.
But what's happened is over years. So again, people that are struggling with exercise, find a way to trick yourself into it. So mine was, imagine being able to afford a house of this size. I have to stay cardio fit. So that fueled the exercise regime. So it wasn't.
What do you do?
I'm not vain enough. Like I'm just not. I've got to be careful how I phrase this, but I've never struggled for female companionship. What I have learned is that girls they only care about looks for about 20 minutes across a swimming pool. Then if you have got the jokes, good luck, Mr. 6'8" chiseled guy, because I'll be there with my beer and they'll be, you so funny. Back to mine then. And so I've never been vain enough to worry about looks on that level. I've always had a girlfriend and everything like that. I've always been totally unwarrantedly confident. But it was just the way in for me to take care of my body and to end up with the accidental benefits of exercise, i.e. being trim and not being embarrassed to take my top off around the pool anymore, was the job. It was the job. Forced me to think.
What do you do? You do cardio, you do weights. What type of training do you do?
In lockdown recently, I've just changed to 30 minutes every day. I was doing what everyone else does, sort of 4 days a week, couple of days off, longer workouts. But I really find if all you got to get to is 30 minutes, like you can never dread it too much.
That is my school of thought. Just get it. I actually do 20 because I think 20 every day. Wow.
Easy peasy. When you start a 20-minute workout, if you look down at your watch 1 minute later, do you know what's left? 90. I mean, what's 19 minutes? It's nothing. I can make a cup of tea last longer than 19 minutes.
Yeah.
And every day I do I am lucky, but it's not as posh as it sounds. I bought like the poshest shed you can buy. I didn't even buy a proper summer house. I bought the poshest shed you can buy. It's absolutely massive and reinforced the floor. I've got a fold up running machine in there, and I've got so that I can fold it against the wall if I need to and make more space. So I've got my Fitbit on. I keep my heart rate up in the fat burn zone, and then I'll jump on the bench and do some bench press. And for the last 6 months, I've done super light, like i.e. 50 reps to get tired, super lightweight, which I've got addicted to. It's just a phase. I'll be back to like shitting myself and trying to live.
That sounds manageable to anyone. Like if it's lightweight, get 2 bottles of water and just knacker yourself.
Exactly. And then so I'll do that one day, a mixture of the weights with the running, and then the next day, like today, I'll just do 40 minutes fast walk it. You'd be surprised. You don't need to run. I've got sent it free, to be honest, to try. It's called a Fitbit Sense. Something that a lot of these heart rate things you buy on Amazon and stuff, you're wasting your money. You need a really accurate pulse-ometer. Right. It tells you when you're in your fat burn zone. No stressful running, guys. Fast granddad walking like you see over the park. is and when you're doing that, you can have something on iPlayer, you can have a box set on. Everyone loves walking. Everyone hates
don't
running.
go outside. You still do it on the tread.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you
Do you
not
know
like
why?
the fresh air, the nature?
I have my door open, fresh air,
Right.
the birds in the garden. Very lucky I've got a garden. Check your privilege. But I cannot run for 30 minutes, bored shitless within 5. I have to have an amazing documentary playing, something visual or a box set or Queen's Gambit. Put Queen's Gambit on, earphones in. I'm basically, I've got an excuse to watch telly during the day when I should be working. That's the way I look at it. See, it's about tricking your brain into its motivation. Trick yourself.
I'm tricking everyone around you. I am working by being watching right now. This is for my health. This is for this house. It's work.
Yeah, and if you tell yourself, you tell your brain, I'm going to go and watch telly for half an hour. Your brain's like, but I hate exercise, but I'm not doing exercise. Brain, I'm watching Queen's Gambit, and then you're like, damn it, you win. Boom. See you later, body fat.
I have to go and get on the old trainers on and go.
That's what some people say. So exercise, just like lifting weights. Well, find a podcast, find some intellectual cocaine, whatever yours is. Mine, I like documentaries
or something. I don't know, something like that, or live in the moment, just something. Yeah.
And as for well, it's right for you. You've got a garden and a gym. And my workout program is designed to be done in the shittest, stinkiest, smallest dressing room known to man. I have 3 resistance bands, which are like large elastic bands, a pair of gloves, and a chair, and I can do everything I fucking need to do. So don't give me that.
Oh, you mean you don't mean boxing gloves? You mean just those
the gloves, so that you can really pull the resistance bands. Otherwise, you get like little blisters on your hand. So I hang the bands over the door. I can do pull downs. I can do bicep curls under my foot. I jump up and down on the chair. I can do burpees. There's not a single thing that I can't do in the smallest, shittiest 3-star hotel room. So it's not based on me being like rich comedian with a garden and a gym. I've designed it so it's bullshit proof.
Well, I love this. This is literally gold, real gold. Okay, you seem. Look, I don't know you well at all, but you give off such positive vibes. Are you always like this? Like, do you have the black hole side? Like, because I guess the perception of comedians is there is that alternate side of their personalities too. Do you have that? And have you been in a place like that at all during your career?
I don't have the stereotypical tears of the clown dark side, thank God. Maybe I think because growing up around my dad, who was so negative, it sort of inoculated me against it. I do have a short fuse that I have to manage in relation to not in relation to anything juicy, like arguing with your partner or anything. If only it's the most pointless. If I can't find a car key, if I'm running late, if something's not gone quite to plan, if I couldn't find my headphones, these freaking things ruin my life. These AirPods, spend my whole life looking for them. I'll just go from 0 to 100 for no reason. Okay. That's my biggest black spot in my personality. I guess it comes with having so much energy and being turned up to 12. And I don't want my daughter to grow up around that. I never shout at people. In 5 years from her leaving the womb till now, I've only raised my voice to my daughter once.
And what happened?
So I clearly don't have an issue with losing a temper with human beings. But
wait, what did she do, or what happened that day? Do you remember?
She was just being absolutely vile, and I was well within my rights, and I should have done it a lot earlier, because this is only a couple of weeks since I've done that. She's been an absolute angel. It was time to show the silver back.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even in the same room. I was on a different floor, and I did a proper kindergarten cop, Arnold Schwarzenegger, shut up! Just came out like a primal scream.
They do that to you, can't they?
And she was doing like slightly theatrical fake abuse shaking in the bed. Daddy shouts at me, like slightly laid on thick, and then I cried and felt awful afterwards for about 2 days.
Yeah.
But the point is, for whatever, out of the two of us, you wouldn't believe, out of me and Lindsay, I just don't lose my temper with her at all, ever. And I can count on maybe one hand the arguments that Lindsay and I have had where my volume's gone above the normal pitch of someone expressing themselves passionately. But slamming a door because I knocked a coffee over, a weekly occurrence, and I hate that. I hate it. I hate that I've got that in my personality, that testosterone psycho male temper. It might only be towards inanimate objects, but it's undeniably there. And up until 10 years ago, when I actually went and got help for it, it was, I was constantly polyfilling holes in walls. I was having to lie about how a screen got broke on a laptop. I was having to lie about how a wing mirror got broken off a car. Always objects, always things I cared about. So I wouldn't like smash a vase that Lindsay liked. I would be much more inclined to smash a vase I liked. So whatever dark shit is going on in there, but when I lose my temper, which is what it is, a basic toddler inability to manage my temper, I will lash out at an inanimate object and break it. Don't do that anymore. Now it's more swearing and slamming.
So then how long do you stay in the rage? How long does the rage last?
Oh, very Mediterranean, minutes, and then I'm like, if I've left in a temper, I will swear a lot. I'm not trying to be offensive. Check it, swearing's okay, right, on here. I will use the C word every other word in a sentence. Cunt late because my cunt car's out, cunt side, slam the door really hard so it could nearly break, and I'll be texting Lindsay, literally just calculating away, sorry babe, under a lot of pressure. Within 3 minutes.
And I guess she knows you well enough to be like, water for duck back.
She's perfect for me because Lindsay just isn't like that ever.
Yeah, ever.
But and then when it comes to Minna as well, my daughter, she seems to be able to press Lindsay's buttons. Why she can't press mine, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. I am turned up to 11, stressed out with everything, and for whatever reason, there's this block there. But to be honest with you, she could do with a bit more from me. But for whatever reason, I think she needs a bit more leadership, my daughter, and I've got to get better at that.
Okay, but not by screaming and shouting, her quaking in her
even saying no would be a start, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Oh,
Daddy, princess, Daddy. She'll be like, give it to me now, Daddy. And he's like, make her say please. And I'm like, yeah, Daddy gets it for you, princess. You know, I'll let her speak to me like shit, basically.
It seems like you've got incredible resilience, and that is the word, isn't it, that they always want us to, like, our children need resilience in this world. You need to be incredibly resilient. You also, I don't know if it's a conscious, like, you read The Secret and you do this, but your kind of approach of, if you want it, stick the post-it up, go for it. Do you practice gratitude? Are you mindful? Like, do you do all the stuff, or is that inbuilt in you that you do it?
I do practice gratitude a lot, like the Syrian dad thing is exactly. So I do that all the time. I try and wake up every day. Before I go on stage, I have a practice I do, whereas I write a lot. It's not an interesting journal, and I don't correct the typos. So after I've died, good luck publishing it. But I will just list. I'd be so embarrassed if anyone read it. All the amazing shit in my life, shallow, amazing shit that my mum and dad didn't have. The nice car I've got, how much I love my house, how beautiful my wife is. Oh my God, I'm in a theatre. People have paid to come to see me. Fucking hell, man. I'm like a lottery winner. I'll list it. And then I'll physically skip around like an 8-year-old that's just been told they're going to Disney, literally skipping, celebrating what I've got. And that's the energy I hit stage with, that. So I do that every day. Not just for wanky gratitude, love the world, but to make myself grounded and to have a great gig and be a better performer.
Did you like learn to do this, or you just did it naturally? That's the bit I'm curious about. Like, did you read somewhere, like, if you write a list and you're great?
No, it's something I've developed on my own. That is
the thing they tell you to do. You've literally done the thing they say.
I realized, so when I left work, because I don't count myself as working anymore. When I left work in 2006,
what did you do?
I worked in an advertising agency, and it's genetically, if you were to sequence your DNA, you're either someone that is an early bird that can wake up at 7 o'clock and not feel like rubbish, or you're someone who wakes up at 10 a.m. naturally. So my life has been, I loved my job. But every job has always been miserable because I cannot bear getting up at 7 a.m., including Steph McGovern. If you're listening, I love you, but getting up at 7 a.m. for a daytime telly. So when I woke up on March the 26th, 2006, I went downstairs at 10 a.m. and I never, ever want to forget this feeling and turn into a wanker, like a showbiz wanker. And it was from there. It was the fear of forgetting that feeling. So I've artificially, like a bonsai, snipped back everything I've achieved. So I'm constantly experiencing oh my God, I don't have to work for a living. I think of all the shit, all the jobs my mum and dad had to do, all the stuff people in my family have to do. I constantly remember, and then I never ever become ungrateful. And it's not because I want this Buddhist love the world, happy life type vibe, although that's an accidental side benefit. It's because it makes me more kick-ass on stage. being that grateful. It's a cynical, commercial reason that has an accidental, spiritual, feel-good outcome. That's the way to trick your brain, guys. Is what I keep saying to you. Put the cynical, put all your secrets aside. Put all your spiritual, cuddly cardigans aside. Put a cynical, embarrassed if someone saw it, post it on the wall. That's the one you're more likely to fucking go for.
But you're kind of grateful for what you do have.
Yes.
If you didn't have all this, I mean, hard question, but do you think you'd still find the things? You'd keep finding, whatever level you're at, you find the things.
I have, ever since, as soon as I made this pivotal moment of my life, which I can describe to you in a moment. This, whatever the opposite is of a nervous breakdown, there isn't a phrase for it. I had a nervous build-up I had at one point. It was an incredible moment of my life. And ever since that moment, and literally an isolated 5-minute moment, I have done it. So from going to uni, from when I had the advertising job, I thought I'd made it. So when I was doing that, I wasn't going, oh my God, if only I wasn't getting up at 7. I was like, I've got hummus in the fridge. I've got a pedigree cat. I own my own flat. I can't believe I'm middle class. I am middle class. I could not believe it. Yeah. You don't understand. My mum's a cleaner. My dad's in the ground from taking fiberglass out of boiler. You know, he's dead. He's gone. My brother's got mental illness and lives in a home. You know, my family are cleaners, tilers, and here I am dipping celery in hummus, fit posh girlfriend, flat in Clapham. You know, I didn't take that for granted. Every day was fuck me. I'm a legend, but not in a big-headed way. In a kind of now knuckle down and sustain it. Wow.
So this is so inspiring. You literally live in the moment. You are the epitome of this very chat. Speaking of hummus, you say hummus, I say hummus.
Yeah. Don't say hummus though. That's something different.
Well, I actually don't want to end on this. This is your I'm going to call this your final moment thing, but food. You meant food is a thing for you that kind of can change your headspace, or if you're feeling dark, you go for food. Is that healthy food? Is that cheat meals? Is that dirty? Is it you nourish? Like, what is it? Talk to me.
So Lindsay and I don't believe in being hungry, and I think if you are starving, then there's something wrong with your diet. That's just my view. We're not supposed to be stick thin girls, and we're not supposed to be 18 stone, 0% body fat, steroid injecting lads. We're supposed to be somewhere in between. Bit of self-respect, quite toned, reasonably good looking. If everyone just did that, we'd all be self-confident. We'd all find someone we want to shag, instead of existing at the extreme fucking ends of starvation and bodybuilding. That's the first thing I want to say. And in that middle territory is a diet that is right for you. I happen to eat a quite high fat, high protein diet because I love it. We are all different. You might have Sudanese blood. You might have Jewish blood. I might have German blood. There is not one size fits all. You might be to eat 100% carbs and your body doesn't have an insulin spike. Anyone that tells you this is the diet you should be eating is talking shit. No medical professional will say that, because unless you have run your individual DNA and sugar and glycemic response to what you're eating, no one can advise you on what you should be eating. So put the book down. It's bollocks. The diet secret is this: a moderate amount of most foods, most of the time, plus moderate exercise. Full stop. Publish. Christmas bestseller. That's it. There's no secret. And if you can afford to, try and not eat tortured animals, because they tend to be full of hormones and all horrible shit. Don't tell people they can't eat meat, because most people are skint, and meat is a great way to feed your family. So don't be like a middle class vegan and ram it down everyone's throat. But if you can afford to eat free range eggs, eat them. If you can afford to eat free range meat, eat them. And just if you can't afford free range fish, just don't eat fish. That's the only thing I would say. Stay away from farm salmon. Salmon full of crap.
Right. Okay. Pure crap.
And let me just hold on a second, Liv, because here next to me so I live my life on the road, and this beat up thing I'm now showing Liv is my cold bag. I'm speaking to her today, and I filmed a program called Steph's Packed Lunch today. It's an hour away from my house. It's live. All the food that I could want is provided there. I never take a mouthful of it. I get out of bed 5 minutes earlier, and every day I load up the cold bag that I am now showing. What was in here today is obviously the ice packs, which keep it going.
How do you keep away from delicious food on set?
Because I brought my own food.
You just don't find it delicious anymore. You're so used to it.
Yeah, so there's some hard-boiled eggs in here. Food of the gods. I love a hard-boiled egg.
I love a hard-boiled egg. At Sky, that's all I ate every morning,
If you
hard-boiled
can't
egg.
afford to go organic, at least go free range. Although, of course, you'll see the free range and organic label about to drop off because all hens and birds are going to have to be kept indoors temporarily because there's an avian flu outbreak. Bit of cheese there.
Right, the fat.
Celery. There was bread, honey. There was chocolate, nuts. They've all been devoured.
Don't make it a proper meal. You just bits.
Yeah, I
Nibbles.
probably smashed 1,000 calories in the car. If you're eating the right food, like calories are a load of bollocks. Just eat the right food. I always say a good guide.
Please continue, my son. We will wrap this up. You have to be very quiet. Don't say a word. Okay. Okay. Yeah. You can have them. Yeah. It's fine. Go downstairs. Yeah. Fine. Go down and have them. I'll be 2 minutes.
Ironically, eating chocolate. And
I swear, I'm literally saying that in 15 minutes, but we're recording. This is
a good guide. I always think a good guide is if you're eating the right diet. A good guide if you're eating the right diet is if you wake up hungry. You shouldn't really, I don't think, unless you're pregnant or something, be waking up starving. Human beings are the one thing that seems to be across all cultures is for thousands of years we probably woke up. We might have had a few berries and what was ever's left over the night before, but you shouldn't really be waking up starving. Not like, oh God, I'm so hungry. If you are, you're either pregnant or you're eating the wrong food.
Or you're breastfeeding all night.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, cooking is for me. It's a de-stress. I put a podcast in. I cook, but this bag I take on tour. This cold bag will last 24 hours, and the next day I will hang it out of the window of the hotel and create a nature's fridge, so I can continue to eat my own food for up to 2 days on tour, and then I just eat good food, but no low fat, no ridiculously low carb, slightly lower carb, but it's all about moderation.
I'm educated on all this stuff, actually. And I have to thank you, Russell. I've mentioned it to you before, but I really want to air it here publicly in that you introduced me and my husband, and it's now his favorite thing too, to Godiva 90%.
There it is. I'm holding it up.
I'm
running out, so I've got my backup lint, which is it's much more bitter, this one, but the Godiva is the way forward.
What's wrong with you? Oh, it's like creamy and delicious, but 90%.
Honestly, it does sound like we were at some really odd party where I recommended chocolate to you. What is that you're pouring on me?
We have it every night without fail, like because of you, honestly. So thank you.
I love it.
Well, thank you so much. So sorry for my interruption.
No problem.
I would like to finish, if you have one, a motto or a phrase you live by. Something, mine is, if everything works out all right in the end. So if it's not all right, it's not the end. What's yours?
I'm really sorry because there's been so much swearing already, but when I was about 19, I had this massive row with my dad. I won't go into it. It was basically over some girl he didn't want in the house, and I was paying keep to live. We call it keep in working class communities, and I was paying keep to live at home. And my argument was, I should be able to at least have a girl over if I'm paying. You don't know nothing. I went, right, I'll move out tonight. And I moved out, and I moved in with my alcoholic, weed smoking, mental nan. I refer you to my book, Son of a Silverback, if you want to know about my childhood. And she fucked up her whole life. And I'm sure my aunts and uncles didn't enjoy the experience of her as a parent. And so I know my mum didn't. But I enjoyed my experience of her as a grandson. And she had all of these phrases. This is before I had my moment and I turned my life around, where she would pick me up off the floor when I split up with a girl and I'd be in tears, or I'd been out and partied a bit too hard and I had a special dance floor hangover on the Tuesday. And my nan used this phrase, and it still to this day, it sorts me out. And apologies if you find swearing sensitive, because you can always make a cleaner version. This was my nan's favorite phrase: laugh and the world laughs with you. Cry and you're a cunt. And that's say it to me on a week, and it sounds harsh, but it's done with such irony. It doesn't mean you can't be depressed. Yeah. It's a sort of ironic little jab to the arm to start sorting shit out.
I love it. I will stop crying and start laughing. And actually, stop wallowing in your shit and get on with it and have a good time and a laugh and live your life.
Yeah,
Russell, you have been a dream. I knew you would be, but thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'll be watching and hearing and seeing you everywhere, so crack on with all of that. You do great stuff. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Bye.
Bye.